I can skip the first part because I'm a functional programmer. I love it. You love it. So that's good. I also love conferences, and I'm a meetup organizer for Java and Elixir. So if anyone is interested to be a speaker, please just find me. I do have another side, so I'm not really sure why I look like a scared chicken there, but that is Diego. That is the most important part. He's very cute. He's a good boy. And I also live in the middle of nowhere, and that is like really literally true. So walking to the next train station is about an hour-long walk. So yeah, same? Yeah. Wow, we have to talk then. So talking about accessibility and manageable, the goal is not to make you an expert in a 45 minutes talk. We know that. But the goal is to make you more familiar with it and to include it in your thinking in your everyday engineering work. How do we do that? So we talk about first what is it actually, why we're doing it, and then that is the meat part, the how. And afterwards, I need your interaction, actually before that as well. So this is not a only frontal talk. I will interact with you at some point, and latest at the quiz. Then there's an objection best of list, and also I end with a future mindset. So who of you is disabled in some way? Show of hands, please. So I go first. You don't see it, maybe? Okay. That's not a lot, so you can be happy. On the left side, we see the different areas where you can be disabled, and on the right side, you see the duration. If we had more time, I would let you guess the single thing, but now I just show it to you, and then you can think back to the question, who is disabled? Anyone familiar? You could also be drunk, basically. Are you familiar with that kind of blindness test? So I see a 12. Yes. Yeah, I see nodding. Very good. I see maybe a 2. Yeah, or an 8. And I couldn't find the solution, so that's a cliffhanger. Then I see a 42.
Yeah. Nothing here.
Really? Franz?
Nothing.
Oh, you mentioned that. Franz, you can see that, right? Awesome. Sorry. Then I think, so on my display, it is clearer, 74 and a 6. Yes, but this teaches us that you don't rely on color to convey information as the only means. So in error messages, for example, it's not enough to print them in red because some people can't see red. So use an icon, use the literal word error in your error messages. So, and now we play a little game of have you ever? Have you ever tried using your phone one-handed with holding a baby in your arm? Show of hands. Yeah, there's a father, new father, I know that. Okay. Have you ever struggled to read a screen because of bright sunlight? Okay, so we're thinking back on that disability question again. Well, yeah, probably in a train or when you don't want to be impolite, so you use subtitles. That's normal by now. So, again, who of you is disabled in some shape or form, even situation? No. Yes, so that's my point. Coming back to that, in this talk, we disregard speak and think because it doesn't make sense for web accessibility so much. But I introduced another one, living in a rural area. We have problems with internet in Bavaria. So actually, all of these are my kind of trouble. And this we can easily mitigate by using HTML first and using as little JavaScript as possible. You're nodding, I like that. You're like suffering with me. Like, yeah, no internet. This is not good. This is a pain in the ass. This is awesome. A wheelchair user does not rely on external assistance for that. A parent can just walk on with their stroller, and even biking gets easier. So for whom is that feature useful? Yeah, basically, for all of us. We're doing that for others, as we saw. We're doing that for us, as we saw. That is all the right reasons, but also we are doing that to satisfy the European Accessibility Act, so be compliant. Who of you has heard of that? One? Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome. I haven't, like a year ago, maybe? So it is in force already for new products. We have a legacy grace period till 2030 for older products, but the intention of it is basically that what we do for ourselves and for others just in legal terms. So we're talking about consumer-facing products in the EU, so even American companies are liable for that. American companies do have European users, so that's us. And to look at what it actually does is, of course, we have a norm for that. We can do that. But in practice, this means the WCAG. Have you heard of the WCAG? Yes? Yeah, not so many? OK, that is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines for you. And now I do a live thing. We take a short look into it, so just that you've seen it. This is all part of it. Oh, you can't see that. You still can't see that. Let me. Yay. Whee. Okay. So just coming back to the important thing, scrolling up again, you see the poor principles here: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And this is a term that gets often thrown around. Doesn't like me. It doesn't like screen switching. Sorry about that. OK. So these are the poor principles, just so that you've seen them, heard them. We do have examples for that. So perceivable is, for example, the alt tag, the captions we saw, color contrast, very important. Operable means keyboard navigation. Understandable is clear labeling, consistent navigation, just be like sensible about it. And robust means using valid and semantic HTML. So yes. In those WCAG, we do have also 3 kinds of standards. So A is low level, AA is the one required by the Accessibility Act, and AAA is the gold standard. And now I try again to jump to the checklist. Oh, that went better. OK, so this is a checklist not offered by the WCAG itself, but some other provider. There's a lot in my slides. At the end, you'll find all the sources, so no worries there. What I like about this is that you can scroll through and see, OK, I need to provide alt text. I need to provide high color contrast, and which level you're then satisfying. Yes?
Could you please increase the font size?
Of this? Yeah.
No, really?
That's a challenge. No. OK. Let's try. Like this?
Oh, yeah, better. Thank you.
And also what I'm now doing, I'm keyboard navigating. Yeah. And it goes on and on, but the main thing is you see what you're satisfying. OK, the switching back doesn't like work so good. I'm getting better. So we have different assistive tags. I go through them real quick. We have computer access tools. Think of Stephen Hawkins, for example. We have visual ads and magnification systems. That is really important. So your web pages have to be able to be zoomable to 400%, for example. But most important to us, of course, screen readers. Screen readers do a lot more than just text-to-speech. but we're concentrating on that. So, as I understand the web, I understand the web as nouns are HTML, adjectives to make stuff pretty are CSS, and the verbs actually do something is JavaScript. And the better you label your stuff, the more success you have. And these nouns are we going to look at now because they are the most important ones. Native elements is a term familiar to you? I want to take a look. Yeah, okay, I see. Guess what you see here. Just, I give you like 20 seconds. Can you make out what I'm trying to do here? Can you now make out what I'm trying to do here? So we have, so it's a, I don't know why it's not the full screen. There's an H1 above that. You see nav, header, main, footer. So these are the important native elements. There is, so should I switch again? I try. So switching in one side did work well. So these are all the native elements. Here you see the menu for that. And I picked out different categories with different favorites of mine. We can't go through all of them. But I would really suggest you do that at some point in time, because it's really interesting. Reading through the names, I could click into every one of those because it sounds interesting. Like, there's an element for that? I didn't know. So please do that. Now I'm switching back again. Bless you. Yes. So header, main, footer, nav, we just saw in that example, really, really important. It's not good to use divs. Then I like the styling part of block quotes, and I also like having the opportunity to not have a map or a picture, but to have a figure and fig captions. So it's so easy, and you don't have to use styling at all. The built-in browser styling is quite good. And also delete and insert, just to have seen them. Very important are forms. We use forms a lot. And for the forms, so the interactive elements, detail summary is hyped right now. But the forms are the most important, so I go to the button element. And I ask myself, okay, this is our type of button. Like, we don't have to do anything else. This is a working button. This is an accessible button. But what do I need to do if I re-engineer that button? Well, that is a button. But that is like, we don't do that. Like, we just use this. And we get so much for free. All the JavaScript I had to add on. And also the ARIA I needed to add on. This is so much text. This is so much code. And I know it's not about lines of code, but it's about like being clear and simple. So talking about ARIA, as we just saw, ARIA is accessible rich internet applications. Who of you is familiar with ARIA? Okay, more than having heard the term, like really working with ARIA? Less. Okay, that's good actually. I like that. ARIA is difficult because ARIA is complicated. And the native elements are basically our win. So the golden rule to use ARIA is if there is a native element, and I just showed you, there's a whole list, like scroll through, there's so much, then use it. If you have a native element, don't butcher it. Like, don't make div, or don't make H1 type button, for example. Okay. Don't butcher it. And no, ARIA is better than bad ARIA, because the screen readers, if you don't use it properly, you confuse the screen reader. And the screen reader is basically that which disabled persons need to understand the internet. So confusion is not good. So, and now to your checklist, almost. We do have things we really need to test, and that is keyboard navigation. So we have the tab shift to move back and forth. Just saw that I used the keyboard myself, enter, spacebar, and arrow keys. And there is tab index. You're quite familiar, I guess, with that too. There's tab index 0 and tab index 1. That is completely fine. To make an element tabbable, you use 0, so a div gets clickable, tabbable. What you shouldn't use is -1, because if you use -1, you completely restructure the whole tabbing rhythm of the page. Don't do that. That's a bad idea, because then you have to really test every single element if you reorder that yourself. So trust in the browser, trust in native elements. So in the DevTools, we're doing that again. We can also do manual testing in the DevTools. Maybe? Yes, we can. Okay. Now I need to see that. Okay, that doesn't work. Can we resize the display, because there's a lot missing on top?
That's probably on your end.
Okay.
It's
Projected to the
Probably
ceiling.
just rotate the camera a little bit, well, not the camera, the projector, a couple of degrees.
It's just
Maybe
on
someone should.
someone
The
big
shift
could
who is
maybe-
taller can.
Definitely.
So the interaction part starts now.
Yeah, where's the control?
No, I think it got moved.
Because I
Start.
can't see what I'm doing there.
Oh, it's right.
I don't see the screen myself here.
Tilt it down a little.
Maybe I can. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, no, not the console. So what we're seeing here is our usual web dev view, but we also have the accessibility tree view. That is what the actual screen reader ingests. But we also have in the DevTools, if you have the key combination Apple Shift P, I don't know what it is for users, or Windows, you can emulate vision deficiencies. So scroll all the way to the bottom. Which one was it you had problems with?
Red and green in particular.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, this is without red. Oh, sorry. Okay, do you see the difference? So not,
Yeah.
let's say no emulation. Okay, that's what we saw. And then without green, it's really difficult. But then the bummer is if someone is really colorblind. That's it. That's not nothing, yes. And the second awesome thing I can show you in the DevTools is, I should go to a different, no, page for that, but let's try it this way. Okay, so we have here an accessible university mock-up page. That is a bad one, actually, the bad version. I can show you why. Who in the second row can read this? You can. Okay, that's not good. That's not the plan. No. Okay, let's go from here. So the color contrast. This is the usual color picker view. And here is a contrast ratio. And that is really interesting because you can see the AA and AAA standards. So the Accessibility Act, AA standard, and the gold standard, AAA. You see two curves here. If I move above the first curve, we are AA compliant. And if I move above the second curve, we are AAA. So you can always check if your color matches really a good contrast. This is the, oh, I found a way, right? Yes. So this is the manual testing way. That is something you should always do in developing before you even push or go in the merge request review. Then there's an automated testing. You can do either linting during typing, that is nice. So HTML validate is for vanilla HTML, and for React users, there's also a plugin. Or you can integrate Lighthouse and, oh, I forgot the Lighthouse thing. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to jump back. Who is familiar with Lighthouse? Yes. No. So few people. Okay. Okay. So we have the BAT, Accessibility University, and we are now doing a Lighthouse test. So you go to the DevTools again, and then there's Lighthouse, and we say that's fine, and we go for accessibility alone. But you see, you can also best practices test or CO test performance. And then, while this is doing its thing, we also have the good accessibility, which almost looks the same to our eyes, but let's see the difference. This is the good one. And you see all the past audits here. And now, the interesting thing is, that is the bad one. And you see, while doing that, in the manual testing, like opening the site yourself in the browser and then scroll through, you see what is missing. So you can really do the work. It's a good thing, but you can also, and that is where I jumped ahead of myself, you can also integrate the Google Lighthouse CI in your build pipeline, or Xcore. That is also a great alternative. Also, yeah, I should mention that. That is 50%. The 50% is my guess, so it could be 60 or could be 40. The manual testing is your responsibility, and the better you build, like using native elements, using ARIA where ARIAs do, the less errors you have in accessibility-wise. And you can also concentrate then on complex stuff like keyboard navigation, which is not doable with an automated checking. And now your checklist comes. Is there a native element for this? Can I tap through? That is important as well. If you have a purely decorative icon, don't let it be known to the screen reader. So you use an alt tag, but you leave it empty. That is counterintuitive. You don't omit it. Keep that in mind. We just saw that. And obviously then the safety net. So, 3 questions. Which of these HTML elements has 0 semantic meaning to a screen reader? Who goes for 1? 2? 3? 4? Okay, it is div. It is div. Break has a semantic meaning. Break, some of you said break. Break has a semantic meaning. It lets the screen reader pause. So you shouldn't use it as a decorative thing. to get new lines, because then the screen reader goes blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. That is weird. Like, we don't want to do that. If a designer gives you a button that navigates the user to a new page, should you use a button element? Who is false? Okay. True? Okay, I don't single you out. No, I don't do that. No, so buttons are for actions. Post, put, delete, edit, whatever. And links are just for navigation. And they are also triggered differently in screen readers. So enter versus the bar. You have a decorative icon of a magnifying glass next to our already labeled search input. What should the alt attribute look like? Okay, this question I want to answer everyone right. Who is for 1? Who is for 2? Who is for 3? Yay! Awesome! And 4 omitted. So I find it quite counterintuitive, as I said, because in my thinking, if I'm the screen reader and I don't see an attribute, I can't read it out. But it's not that way. So you need to set the attribute and you need to leave it on empty string. Objections best of, meaning how can I sell accessibility at my company? And there are my personal top 4. It really generates more work, that is true. I have to say that. But the more you do the work, the better you get. So yes, but accessibility depth ships slower. We also have to take other people into account. So that if people call the hotline hot, that isn't useful for anyone. Also, yes, the design is okay, but it has to work in the real world. We're not doing that just for us. Did you know Googlebot works like that? So, and now AI. So the clearer we get, the more accessible we write our code, the better understanding also for AI. And that is my favorite one. So it is doable, and it is not, don't have to be perfect. Take semantic HTML, native elements, take the contrast thing I showed you, and then you're so much ahead of the crowd. And that leads me to my future mindset. That you can also use in your everyday life, not just accessibility. It's about progress. Thank you.
So, thank you very much. We have time for a lot of questions, I think. Do you have some questions?
Yeah, I ran through really quick. I was a bit afraid I wouldn't finish on time.
Yes. Over there? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any tips for testing what screen readers will actually read, especially in an automated way. And I'm not suggesting you just give it to some sort of automation and have it pass or fail, like you still need to write your own expectation. But the only way I've done it so far is to manually do it myself and see if the screen reader is reading what I would expect. I'm just wondering if there's a repeatable way of doing that.
I think so the question was how to do better automatic testing.
Yeah,
what does
the screen readers?
What does the screen reader see?
Yeah.
And I also knew only the check from time to time, let it read out yourself way. But I guess with AI advancing, there will be better ways.
Okay.
So I'm prepped for the future. Thanks. Yes.
In my experience, things don't improve until the creators are not forced to improve them. So do you have any tips or tricks how to force the developers or the companies to implement assistive technologies, like in
So
a,
how can we force companies to be more
like
accessible?
How to direct them in a polite, diplomatic way?
Okay,
like
force,
manipulation, social
polite.
engineering.
Yeah, so we have the European Accessibility Act exactly for that, so that companies get forced to be more accessible in their products and services. What we can do ourselves is, if you find accessibility issues somewhere, then write an email or do a pull request even, if you know the code base. That goes also for dependencies. So if you use some dependency, some add-on, and you see, okay, that is not good, do a pull request.
Oh, I feel like you're gonna tell me like
Do the work
the
yourself.
mouse from the table of your colleague, so they are forced to use the keyboard or something like that.
No, I mean, like in the wild, not your company.
Or like cut the cable or stealing. I mean, stealing
Maybe I
is
get
what
your
we do.
question wrong.
Pardon?
Maybe I get your question wrong. So I thought into the wild.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Or is the question, how can you
I
motivate
was
your
really
colleagues?
thinking about like practical tips and tricks how to manipulate the environment of your colleagues in order
That's really
in order to
Okay, okay, bye. I mean, you could cut their mouse cable if they use a mouse with a cable still. You could also dim the lights or make the lights very bright, yes. But I think it's more about empathy and also the common sense. So make them understand that we are all disabled, and be it situational. So I'm not disabled in a regular way, but I'm also at the same time situatively very disabled. So I wear glasses or contacts. for
So maybe
example.
just talking about the disabilities
Yeah.
in the coffee corner or something.
Yeah, make them see
Yeah.
that it's not about them, it's about us. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have,
Sorry.
do you have any tips for backend developers and API designers? Can they somehow support by means of integrating stuff for accessibility into the APIs and backend design to facilitate the integration for front-end developers? Or do you think this is a completely separate concept?
So accessibility in the back end specifically, I wouldn't know. So if my colleague is disabled and working with their tools, yes, sure. And if he's working, or they are working in back end, okay. But the back end itself, I wouldn't know if you need accessibility. Do you have an example?
No, I was just wondering whether there are techniques or technologies available that, for instance, the API can already support some stuff that then needs to be done in the front end for improving accessibility.
I would have to think about that. So it's a good question. So now I'll leave you the.
No, it's fine. You can do this.
Yeah, not a question, just a remark. Very many apps and pages rely on some kind of traffic light color semantics.
Mm-hmm.
Red meaning there's a problem, stop. Green meaning everything's good to go. But a traffic light gives you more because you have an upper light and a lower light. Whereas in web design, all you get is often just a circle being red or green, which gives you nothing if you
Yes.
can't distinguish red and green. Now, especially red-green blindness or red-green weakness is pretty common.
Yes.
So that means a lot of people are affected if you rely on traffic light color semantics only.
Yes. It starts in school. So in school, red is incorrect, green is you did a great job. Yeah. Well, the thing that comes to mind is circling different. So have a pattern in circling, not rely on only the solid line, but take a spotted line, for example, to make clear, okay, there is something different, not color alone.
Adding to that one, redundancy might be the
Yes.
keyword. So
Yes.
really
Yes.
convey the same information in maybe 2 or 3 ways without being bloating everything. But this is the likelihood that no disability is still matching is very much higher when you do every information in a redundant way.
Yes.
So have text and color, or a form and a color.
Or an icon,
Or-
or something. So you're totally right, redundancy is key. Yes. thank you.
Icons are overestimated.
Yes.
I must say I came actually to this talk for something different, and that's sort of mental disability we are all affected by, and this is the way we are manipulated by dark patterns.
So
Is
you're
there-
speaking about those disabilities I explicitly didn't talk about. I'm
exactly,
sorry.
because I mean, are there? I mean, I know this that the companies use it, and I know everyone is disabled in this respect. Who didn't click on the wrong button and got on an email list? But are there any standards, or is there anything beyond Jeff Raskin on the topic of building an interface which is usable?
It's only best practices. There's no one saying you don't have to, you're not allowed to use dark patterns. And dark patterns, I mean, it's a thin line between being a dark pattern and being a light system, like facilitating easier access system. So it's completely fine to have the button OK in a different design for a good question, for a morally right question, for a morally bad question. Then it becomes a dark pattern because we are forced into clicking OK to something we don't like. So it's a thing of perspective, I guess.
I don't think so. The questions which only have a correct answer, you don't have to ask them. You better only ask questions where all answers are interesting and useful.
Okay?
I mean, you can say, save file, open file, format your hard disk.
Yeah, but if you want to do that, that's the thing I
Yeah.
was mentioning with perspective. If that is what you want to do, then it's right, then it's perfectly
Yeah.
fine. But if
Okay.
you do it by accident, then not.
I know from psychology there are a lot of studies from this. Because of human-computer interaction, psychologists are thinking about stuff like this a lot, and there are studies around. So maybe this is a little bit the
Thank you.
direction to go.
Any more questions or remarks? Yeah.
If you don't mind me sharing two more tips that I found useful. The first one you mentioned earlier in the question round, but I think it's worth stressing again. You don't have to be visually impaired to be a screen reader user. Everyone can install it. It's not difficult. You can get up and running in minutes. I've worked with visually impaired people. They are total pros at using screen readers, and they do things with them that you wouldn't even believe. But everyone can be a basic screen reader user, and it's really an
May I ask?
eye-opening experience. If
May I
don't
ask
have
you a
this
question?
Yes.
So when I was much younger, I was working on something like a search engine. The problem was that I was not able to extract the text from everything.
Yes.
She told us that AI uses screen readers to extract the text.
Yes.
How can that be done? Do you have any ideas? Because it would be very interesting to have something that can get something like YouTube with 1,000 ads and just grab the interesting text out of it.
Just a little correction. I said Googlebot is basically our biggest screen reader, and maybe in the future AI. Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. The other thing that has really paid off for me is learning to notice when you're squinting. So when you're finding it difficult to read something, because that basically becomes a superpower that lets you detect bad contrast everywhere immediately. So for example, if you go back like 2 or 3 slides to your future slide, that one before, yeah, this one, like the white text on the yellow.
Yeah,
I
it's so
immediately-
bad here.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
true.
it looks different on your computer, but this is something that that if you train yourself to notice these things immediately, it becomes really easy to spot contrast issues.
It's like a litmus test, basically. If you're squinting yourself,
Yeah,
then the color contrast isn't right.
and if you as someone who considers themselves to have like normal eyesight have difficulty reading text, it's going to be impossible for a visually
Yeah.
impaired person.
Are there more questions?
Yeah, another question is, we have tested our application by a company called Parade from Munich. They do those tests, so blind people are testing our application.
Awesome.
We don't solve all problems from them, because some decision was like, yeah, it's okay like that what we have, but I guess we achieve around 90% for blind people. And also tab browsing, also navigating with tabbing. We improved a lot after they tested our application. And our front-end guy is he's using the screen reader to test changes in the front end. And I'm really happy to see the pull request from him because I run it a lot around like the ARIA tags, and every time I have to Google it, what it is doing, and yeah, I learned a lot of with this pull request already.
Then kudos to your front-end engineer.
Yeah, and companies in the public sector, so we are forced, but we are already, we achieved already a lot of the improvements before we are forced about it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So can I give kudos? Awesome to hear. Any more questions or remarks?
Yeah, I wanted to add to the previous comment. So for us, I think it was super important to really test ourselves, also try to use screen readers without looking at the page, see if it's possible to actually use Fodder, and also test with different combinations of screen readers, browsers, and operating systems.
Oh yeah.
We found a lot of combinations actually don't work, even if the other combinations work.
Yes.
Yeah, but unfortunately we're a bit stuck on some problems because it seems there's not really any React library that allows interactive charts that are fully accessible. It seems to be like a really tricky topic.
Their ARIA is, so for interactive charts, ARIA is a way to go, but it's really complex, so good luck. Yes?
Could you just enumerate the most important or useful screen readers, just like we hear the names of the products or the software applications?
I mean, the screen readers, so
anyone, please.
Okay, sure. Yeah, for us, it's TalkBack and VoiceOver.
And Apple is really good, and since I think 20 years, they have the VoiceOver built in.
For testing what the bad ones, right? Not the good ones.
True. Fair point.
And NVDA is, I think, the most popular open source one.
Yes.
There's
Which
also
one? What's an
NVDA?
NVDA?
Yeah. So there's also one that you get that's really expensive. That if you're blind, your German health insurance buys for you, but that costs thousands of euros. I haven't used it myself, but apparently this is better.
That's another issue. Like, why is it so expensive to make other people be able to use a website?
Because insurance pays.
That's only part of the problem that the insurance pays. There is much more to it because there's a whole process of getting it approved, and that's expensive.
Improvement.
Okay, so now we need to. So let's thank again Ariadne.
Thank you.